Cybercrime and widespread cyber insecurity are the largest global technological risks, according to the World Economic Forum, the 2023 Global Risks Report. Today, I'm joined by Saira Mohammed, who is the Chief Security Advisor at Microsoft, and obviously at the center of all the changes, the profound changes that are happening in cybersecurity. Welcome, Saira.
Thank you so much, Effie, for joining you here. Very excited to be here with you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, I wanted to dive in the topic and hear your thoughts, because as I said before, it's an ever-evolving landscape. Sadly, cybercrime, and the implications are really profound on business. So I wanted to ask your thoughts on the topic of these impacts on business, those that are financial and those that go beyond the financial consequences.
Yeah, I agree, completely 100% agree with what you said there. So we at Microsoft, what we are seeing is from the threat landscape perspective, we have seen an increase in number of attacks, right? If you look at the speed, scale, and sophistication of these attacks have been unprecedented. Cyber criminals are targeting and attacking pretty much all sectors. Every industry, for example, has been targeted by ransomware. We see ransomware on the news on a regular basis, right? So, for example, Clorox, MGM, all got impacted. Even just a couple of days ago, many hospitals in Texas, New Mexico, and Oklahoma got impacted by ransomware. It has impact on people's life, right? So cybercrime business, if you don't know, if you've heard the term cybercrime as a service, it's a pretty big business. And ransomware as a service, these services are easy to find on the dark web. You don't need any technical skills to find this and execute ransomware attacks. And the sad part is they're very cheap. In addition, these bad actors are getting safe harbor from nation states, and we can't take legal action against them. So the barrier to entry in this market, Effie, is very low, and it pays high reward. And what other things we have observed at Microsoft is, if you look at the number of password attacks, they have increased. We publish a report every year called Microsoft Digital Defense Report. And in this year, we have blocked 4,000 password attacks per second. That's what we are seeing. It used to be 1,200 password attacks per second last year, and it's growing exponentially. And we also track more than 300 threat actors. We were tracking about 200 threat actors last year. So it's growing really fast, which is really sad to hear. At the same time, these cyber attacks, like you said, also have an impact on business. So the cyber attacks have cost around $8 trillion in US just this year, and it's expected to grow to $10 trillion in 2025. So cybercrime is the fastest growing economy right now. And
the costs, Saira, are what? It's the cost of losing business, the cost of recovering. What's the cost really?
Yeah, very good question there. So these cybercrime costs, right, they have financial consequences like you're talking about, right? So you could be fined by the regulatory bodies. That's one, right? Because of ransomware, you have to pay ransomware payments to the bad actors. And then, like you said, you have costs to recover your data, right? It's not free. You have to plan for that and work on that. So there's the data recovery cost, as well as the bigger thing is, in addition to financial consequences, these attacks also have an impact on your customers, right? You lose customer trust. Whenever there's a data breach, you lose customer trust, and the number shows that consumer trust declines by an average of 65% after a data breach. So those are some of the things I would highlight, because people think about cybercrime or whenever there's an attack, only the financial consequences. You need to think about other consequences like your reputation and brand and the trust, right? That also has an impact.
That is, it's amazing because at the same time, we are at a juncture where, technology is becoming, so smart. We are talking about soon having AGI, and yet we have these core problems, as you said, that are cross-industry, both in business and in, retail, if you like, and our digital lives are growing, whether we like it or not. The hybrid life at all dimensions, personal life, education, work life, everything is going digital. And therefore, what I said before is that the size of the impact and the probability of the impact of these cybersecurity risks are increasing. And on top of that, the business models that are emerging, whether it's platforms and marketplaces and super apps and, complex ecosystems, they're all, in my opinion, opening new doors. I mean, the web of APIs that are needed and all other types of sharing data that are good for business, both for the customer, and they are in the name of, the customer, better customer service, faster, cheaper, whatever it is. But the question to you is, what are the best practices to deal with this web of complexity on the tech stack because of these business models?
Yeah, complexity is everywhere. I agree with what you said there. Let me maybe talk a little bit more about the details of that complexity on what I am seeing when I talk to several of our CISOs and CIOs in the industry, and then talk about what are the best practices that we at Microsoft are helping our customers overcome these challenges related to cybersecurity. So let's start with the problem statement as to what we are seeing. And this is typical across every industry. So I want to start more from the business perspective, right? Like you were highlighting, right? When I talk to many of our customers, everyone is in the middle of digital transformation journey, right? So if you look at it from the business mindset, they all want to transform their product and services. They want to become agile and nimble. They want to provide simplified customer experience. They want to improve their productivity, whether through AI or any other ways, as well as they want to streamline their business operations and at the same time manage expenses, right? So what we are seeing at Microsoft is to meet these business outcomes, many of our customers are migrating to cloud. And they're usually in that transition phase or in that cloud journey where they have some resources on-prem and some in cloud, and then you have to integrate the two. So it gets very complex. In addition, the reality is many of our customers are going to be using more than one cloud provider, whether it's AWS, Azure, or GCP, right? So besides the cloud aspect, what we have also seen is many of our customers and businesses are also using SaaS services. You talked about API. And guess what? These SaaS services are sitting outside your network, right? And then you have to deal with mobile technology, the IoT stuff. You have to figure out, are you going to manage corporate devices or are you going to let your employees bring your own devices? So there's the complexity from the device perspective too. And then there's complexity from the people side too, right? So if you look at it from the people side, right, employees are distributed. Many are working from home now, right? And then in addition to employees, you also have to manage your partners and suppliers. So what I'm trying to get at is, like you said, Effie, it's very, very complex. So your people are distributed, your applications and data are distributed, your devices are distributed. And let's talk about what this means to security, right? 3 things I want to highlight that we are seeing across everywhere. One is because of this complexity, the CISO and their teams have to protect more assets. So you have more assets to protect, and the attack surface keeps increasing. The second thing I want to call out is the old way of protecting, right? Using networks and firewall is declining in its value. Not saying they're going to go away, but they're declining in value. And what we are seeing is to move away from that network-based perimeter to something called identity-based perimeter, which is also zero trust architecture is the industry term that you might have heard. At Microsoft, we have implemented zero trust architecture, and we do not depend on just the network perimeters. We use identities and other attributes to really understand the risk and give you access based on that risk. And then the third thing I want to point out is, which is really important, is because of this complex problem we talked about, right? CISO and their teams lack end-to-end visibility. So they don't know what assets to protect, and they don't have that visibility. So if you don't know what to protect, how are you going to protect it? What they end up doing is they go and buy point solutions. Oh, let me try to buy a tool to protect my email. Let me buy another tool to protect my network. And guess what? These tools don't talk to each other. It gets very complex. And you can't just use tools to solve the problem. You need people as well. And there's the shortage in people side as well, right? So this is where at Microsoft, we talk about the end-to-end integrated platform where it allows you to get that end-to-end visibility with less integration. The integration, these products already talk. You don't need to do that integration. It simplifies that for you. And then it provides that visibility so you know what's happening in your environment so you can take action in a timely manner. So that's where our Microsoft value proposition comes into play that I want to highlight as a big cybersecurity best practices that I've been talking to, rather than trying to do point solutions, because the bad actors can come through different ways, and you need to be protecting. Just think about your house, right? Whether they can come from the front door or the back door or through your windows, you need that complete visibility so you're able to protect end to end and take action in a timely manner.
Okay, that's I understand better now that it's not as how can I say mind-boggling or daunting a task. There are ways, because I guess as we said before, it's cross-industry. Everybody is facing the same problems, and especially if we look at regulated industries like financial services and the health sector, I'm sure there is even more pressing need to have these types of securities.
Yeah, 100%, right? So we talk about the bad actors only have to get one time right? They find one way to get in and they get in, right? But our cybersecurity professionals, we have to always get it right at all time, right? And that's hard. And that's why we have something called defense in depth, additional security layers, right? So even if they get in through email, if they get through email to my machine, we need to make it harder for them to go from my machine to your machine. And that's where zero trust architecture comes into play, right? It's that layered security, and the defense in depth is really important. And to your point, Effie, it's the regulation aspects, right? That's another angle, right? You have to make sure you have the right controls in place to show the regulators that you are effective, not just have them in place, but also be able to show that those controls are effective, right? And when they fail, you have to figure out how to make it better, right? How to make it more cyber resilient. So it's a constant evolving landscape, right? It never stops, because the bad guys are always coming up with new technologies and new things. And we have to try to take a few steps ahead of them, and they catch up, and then it's a constant game here. But hopefully the generative AI topic can help us with that, which we will cover next. But you're right, regulation adds to that complexity too. But it's definitely, it's a multi-approach in security. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, and as you said, we're all excited about generative AI. Suddenly everybody's familiar with machine learning techniques and this model and that model. And, you know, the excitement is there, but we also understand that this adds another level of complexity. At Microsoft Ignite, Microsoft announced this security copilot And I wanted to understand from you, what are the capabilities of this Copilot? And I understand that there's kind of two separate solutions. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. So let's start with Security Copilot, right? Before, I always like to start with a problem statement, like you mentioned, why another Security Copilot tool? So let's talk about the what and why, right? So let me start with the why, and then I explain what is Security Copilot, but the problem statement, right? So if you ask our customers, they are swimming with a lot of data. They have so much data, right? But what they're asking us is, help me with answers. Don't just give me another data to process. I want to have business outcomes. They want answers. So if there's a problem in security, they want to know what the problem is, and they want to fix it, and also know how to fix it, right? And that's what Security Copilot is focused on. If you ask Security Copilot a question, it'll help you with a response. So if you ask Security Copilot if the bad actor is in my machine, or if there's a vulnerability in my machine, it'll tell you yes. Or if there's a vulnerability, it'll also tell you what steps to take to mitigate that risk, right? So it's telling you it's giving you answers, it's giving you outcomes to help you, right? So Security Copilot is focused on helping transform that data into actions that you can take to help mitigate the risk. And that's really important to understand, because it's not just a tool. It's a tool to help your people. And that's why it's so exciting, Effie, it's because it's focused on the people aspect. It's not there to replace your human beings. It's there to help your human beings think about your incident responders and threat hunters, right, to do their jobs more effectively. So that's the
And
why.
I imagine that it will be very valuable for people that are not necessarily cybersecurity specialists, or their day job is not cybersecurity, but everybody's job touches on that. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think of it, the way you described it, as a way to upskill everybody.
100%, 100%. That's where the excitement is, because we need more people in cybersecurity, right? There's a 3.5 million shortage cybersecurity talent. I heard the number has gone to 4 million, but we need more people. And this tool can help upskill, reskill people, because I don't need to know all the technical details, and Security Copilot can help me understand. So if you ask Security Copilot to tell me more about this threat actor, or more about the techniques that they're using, it'll bring back that information so you can learn from it. And that's really exciting, Effie, because it's to find that information on the internet, it might take you weeks to do that. Security Copilot is able to bring that information back in a matter of seconds. So yes, definitely one of the use cases that you're highlighting is to upskill and reskill the talent to help overcome that cyber talent shortage that we have in the industry. 100% agree. Yeah. So let's talk about what is Security Copilot, because people think it's just taking the OpenAI the GPT-4 model and just rolling with it. It's not just that. Thanks to partnership with OpenAI, we have the most advanced GPT-4 model. We use that information, but it's not just that. So let me talk about all the other things that Microsoft brings to the table, right? So in addition to the GPT-4 model, Security Copilot is using Azure Cloud Infrastructure. So what that means is, when you're sitting in Azure Cloud, think about all the security, privacy, and compliance requirements are already baked in. It's in the Azure tenant. So it's part of the Azure Cloud Infrastructure. In addition to those large language models that we got from OpenAI, we at Microsoft also have built a security-specific model, right? So what that really means is, it's a growing set of security-specific skill sets, right? The large language models have been trained on large data sets. They don't understand the security language. So that's why Microsoft focused on building the security-specific skill sets. For example, one of the security-specific skill set is to understand and read programming languages. the Security Copilot knows, it understands SQL queries. It can translate from technical queries to natural language. The exciting part here is it can also reverse engineer a PowerShell script. So just think about that. To reverse engineer a PowerShell script, it can take days. It can do it in a matter of seconds, right? So these security models have been trained on vast amounts of data, really trying to help them understand the language of security. So the security domain specific skill set. So it's much, much more than the large language model. And then the last thing I would call out is Security Copilot is also informed by Microsoft's threat intel information. So what that really means is Microsoft has unique advantage to understand the scale and scope of digital threats across the globe. We track so many threat actors. We have visibility into so much data. For example, think about, we have access to Microsoft Office, endpoints, network data, right? And even Xbox, right? We have about 65 million active Xbox gamers. We have people who use our Azure cloud, about 1 billion users. Because of that, we're able to process 65 trillion signals a day. And because of that visibility, we know what's going on in the entire threat landscape. Nobody can come close to Microsoft when it comes to threat intel. And besides that 65 trillion signals a day, we have about 10,000 security researchers and data scientists who are digging deeper into these events to really find those anomalies. So all that threat intel is integrated into Security Copilot. So it's much, much more than the large language models we got from OpenAI's partnership. And that's what Security Copilot really brings to the picture here, Effie, is to really help our security people take action in a timely manner. Because guess what? You know this better than anyone else. They're trying to find that needle in the haystack, or the needle in the needle stack, when they're trying to fight the bad actors, right? Time is so important, right? So Security Copilot will help them really find this needle in the needle stack, or the needle in the haystack, or the needle in the needle stack, to really do their jobs much better, more effectively, as well as efficiently.
What an amazing mix. I mean, if I understand correctly, and I'm not an engineer, here you have trained with the mix of the public information from the internet that the OpenAI model has, and then you have all the data that Microsoft has, and the know-how, and also the, if you want, the knowledge library around security and coding and so on, and all that has been used to train and fine-tune a model and give the access to people the same way we use ChatGPT and all those interfaces, language interfaces, which is really the next evolution, I guess, of the internet, instead of queries that are impossible to find the context, I guess, because this is finding the context of what is happening and describing it in language.
Yeah, you reminded me of one thing that I forgot to highlight with Security Copilot. When I talk to our customers, I try to highlight 3 things. One is you can communicate with Security Copilot in natural language, right? To your point about upskilling and reskilling, you don't need to know all the technical jargons. That's one. And the other thing that you helped me remember is Security Copilot can reason over several different sources, data sources. It thinks like a human, right? So think about reasoning over 10 or 100 data sets in a matter of seconds, right? It does that for you. Human beings can do that too, but it takes time for them to do it, right? So Security Copilot can reason over these data sets and information and integrate all of them in a timely manner and bring back that information for you to take action, right? So it's there to help you get that information so you can take that action. And then the third thing that I want to highlight is it all has the security, privacy, like you said, you can control access, you can monitor it, you can do all that because it's sitting in that Azure tenant. It makes it easier for you to make it compliant, make it secure, right, and make sure all the security hygiene and the privacy hygienes are built in. Yeah, great point.
What about now the flip side? Because with Gen AI and all these advancements of AI, we clearly have and will have more new security problems by the nature of it. And let's be clear, I mean, most of enterprises are going to be partnering with, you know, those that are providers, be it OpenAI, be it cloud providers like Microsoft or other specialty AI companies. So what are the new challenges and how is Microsoft helping on this front, or what is Microsoft doing on this front?
So I talked about AI for security, which is the security copilot, right? The other side is the security for AI, right? Because AI is not new for Microsoft, right? When I'm talking about AI here, I'm talking in the context of Gen AI, right? So so that's available in Open AI Studio, right? That you could develop these models, right? But let's talk about what you're bringing up here, which is the security for AI, right? So we have within Microsoft a product called Microsoft Purview, which provides data security and compliance protection for copilots. Example, that's the example I will use here. And we announced this in Ignite. We're doing this starting with Microsoft 365 Copilot, right? What it does is you as a customer will have that visibility into who has access to your data that is being used within the AI tools, right? And it also helps you understand the gaps related to managing and securing your data over the data lifecycle management. So it all comes back to data security and governance, to be honest with you, because you need to understand your data because that data security and governance is the foundation. You need to know, are you doing data access management correct? Because if that's not done, there would be other implications like you're pointing out here. So it's really important to understand, know your data. How is that being used? Because if you don't understand your data, it's hard to protect your data. And that's where Microsoft Purview, we made that announcement to help you give that visibility so you can take actions and manage your data.
Yeah, it's interesting that because obviously new challenges are pushing the industry to develop new ways for better governance. As you said, because we come from an era 20 years ago where, okay, the solution was let's keep high walls, you know, whether it's everything on-prem or the firewalls that you mentioned before, you know, that type of solution. And now we are clearly going towards a world of open data, collaboration, you know, all these complex stacks. So we have to develop these new governance tools and hopefully faster than than the damages that can be done, because it is like trying to change the wheels on a new airplane with a new engine, right?
Yes, data is. I tell people data is gold, and trying to understand access to data is like diamonds, right? So to your point, data is distributed. They're not sitting within your walls, right? They're sitting in cloud. You're sharing data with your suppliers, your customers. So it's just data is fragmented. It's really important to understand your data, and that's challenging because many of our customers have legacy systems and they're trying to take the cloud transformation journey, and they're trying to come up with innovative ways to enable business. So it becomes really challenging to understand how is your data being used and shared across these boundaries. Once you have good understanding, I mean, it's hard, but I do tell our customers to really start with your critical data and your critical business processes, because you can't boil the ocean, right? You have to prioritize and start with a risk-informed mindset, Effie. So it's really important to start from there. But at Microsoft, we have all the capabilities to help you with those challenges.
It is a daunting task. I mean, last week I had a guest and we were discussing about incumbent banks still having mainframe systems that obviously are creating more complexity and more challenges around this. And they do want to advance with AI, but how do you do that if you're not data ready? What we talked earlier. So, you know, on the optimistic side, it's pushing really everybody to move forward in their digital transformation, because otherwise it's clear they're going to be left behind. But, you know, it's not only technology, it's people also, as we already mentioned. And I know that you are one of the few women in top cybersecurity positions. We do need more women in that capacity. Otherwise, as my good friend Jane Franklin says in her book about insecurity, that if we don't have enough women in cybersecurity, we're less secure. We need that diversity in thinking. Tell us about the Microsoft program Ready for Cybersecurity that I know you're involved in.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing this topic up, Effie. This topic is near and dear to my heart. I mentor and sponsor a lot of other individuals, especially women and women of color. And as we talked about earlier, right, with the cyber talent gaps, right, we have about 4 million, and women only make up 25% of the workforce. So like you said, it's less secure. I 100% agree with your comment there. We have long ways to go, right? So, and that 25% of the workforce, when you dig deeper into the data that I have done in my previous job and my current role here, is many of these individuals, female women, are more in less technology related cybersecurity topics, like think about governance, like the GRC stuff, right? They are hesitant to go on the technical side. So we still have long ways to go. And the other thing I want to point out is the reason I'm here at this position and the level in my career is because of not just my potential, right? But also the support and help I get from others. So like you said, I paid forward and I want to give back to the community. I also believe if we have the right people in my team, we can accomplish anything. It's not just about technology. Cybersecurity is not just about technology. And I say this all the time, 60 to 70% of what we do in cyber is people related. The rest is process and technology. So it's really important to focus on the people side. So let's now pivot to the Ready for Cybersecurity program that you highlighted here. Microsoft, I'm very proud of Microsoft, and this is the reason, one of the many reasons why I joined Microsoft 18 months ago was because of this topic, right? Microsoft is very committed in upskilling women and underdeserved communities in cybersecurity, the Ready for Cybersecurity program that you just mentioned, right? For example, we are committed to skilling and certifying 100,000 young women and underrepresented youth in cybersecurity by 2025. So that's our goal, right? So let me tell you a few more details of what we are doing here, right?
Where are you in that goal? Because it's already, you know, in a month, it's 2024.
Yeah, we are doing pretty good on that. Let me give you an example, right? So Microsoft is working with more than 135 US community colleges. As you may know, this is something I didn't know before. I always used to go to, not go to community colleges, but this because of this topic, I've been spending a lot with community colleges here. As you know, students at community colleges reflect the diversity of America. So if you look at it, community colleges, about 57% of the students in community colleges are women. So we have partnered with community colleges to educate women in cybersecurity. So we are pretty good with that goal that we are talking about. So we make curriculum available to those community colleges. And then many of Microsoft employees volunteer and go help out community colleges. And once I came to a new place and I am working with a community college here to exactly do that. So that's an example that I want to point out. And the other thing I want to point out, we also partner with several nonprofits who are in direct contact with these underdeserved communities for girls aged 11 to 14. Because guess what? You need to start at that young age to get them more engaged in technology. So we work with DigiGirls is a program at, that we work with at nonprofit to help these girls, right? We offer a series of after-school clubs to get girls more comfortable, confident, and excited about technology. So it's focused on really introducing girls to career opportunities earlier in technology, because once we lose them there, it's hard to really bring them back. So we're trying to do several different things to really help women in cybersecurity. So those are some of the examples that I want to point out here.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much, Saira, for your insights and your passion.
I appreciate you asking this question. It's an important topic, and you know this, Effie. We need to continue to focus on this topic. We cannot let it go. It's a hard topic, but we all have a role to play. We all have a role to play, and we need to do our part, because it's not just one person who can solve this. Yeah.
100%. You know, these types of partnerships that you mentioned are extremely important, because that's the only way to reach scale and have impact and prepare, you know, the for the next decade and for the next decades, where we will need more
Yes.
of people in cybersecurity, people that love, are passionate, and have the right training to work with whatever machines are at our disposal as co-pilots and advisors and so on. Saira,
Yeah.
before closing, I wanted to ask you a more personal question. What are you reading these days, or listening to, that inspires you and keeps you excited and is food to thrive?
Yeah, no, this is a great question. I believe in continuous learning. When we talk about people, right? It's not in cyber, it's not just about technical skills. You need to have the passion and the curiosity, as well as believe in continuous learning, right? But at the same time, I also want to highlight it's hard to make time when you're busy and have so many distractions in life. So I try to set time aside in the morning to catch up, and I love podcasts, and I love listening and reading books. So the book I'm listening to currently, I'll share two. One is called Thrive, by Dr. Jim Jawahar. It's a leadership book, and the thing I like about this book, Effie, is it provides practical solutions and real life experiences to build resiliency when you're facing challenges at work. What I like about this book is it applies to different roles. It doesn't matter if you're an individual contributor or a business leader. Really cool insights into, and also real examples on how you can become more resilient. The other book I'm reading, guess what? It's related to AI, and it's called AI Superpowers by Kai-Fu Lee. And I just started it. I'm not done yet. But what really is insightful about this book is it offers a global perspective on the AI race between China and the United States, and how AI impacts the tech industry and society as in general. So yeah, really valuable insights into the industry's future here, that we just talked about AI, right? So that's the other book that I'm reading right now.
He is definitely one of the leading figures in the industry, not someone that appeared today, you know, in this hype cycle of AI. I think that's important to keep that perspective and to listen to people that have been in the industry in different capacities for a long time and bring a lot of experience. And at the end of the day, what is built today is not built from zero, right? It's built upon advancements and research and that has been done before. We should never forget that.
Well said, 100% agree.
Right, and it also is a big reminder that, you know, the previous generation, the previous scientists, the experts, the business people, they were all, you know, they're like co-pilots to what we're able to do today, right? In a way, now that we like to think of co-pilots, and we're looking for them left and right to help us do better with our work, with our life, with everything.
Yeah, no, well said. I love the way you defined co-pilot. We have them before, and we still, like, human beings are co-pilot to each other, right? We have the support system at home. We have mentors and sponsors at work. They are our co-pilots, to someone to lean on, right? Well said. Really insightful what you just shared there, Effie.
Another way to think of this is, you know, the wisdom from earlier centuries, where there were the elderly groups advising, you know, communities and people on everything, right? Here's the digital version of that, right? We have digital versions of cooperatives that existed, and now they're you know, in a different form, governance methods and everything. So it's very interesting how all these have been built on previous generations. Saira,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your insights. It was really a pleasure to discuss with you.
Thank you so much, Effie. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I appreciate the opportunity.